The Parthenon was a temple dedicated to the goddess Athena Parthenos, meaning Athena the Virgin. It was built on the Acropolis, a rocky citadel at the heart of the city. Its central hall housed a colossal statue of the goddess herself, made of gold and ivory. And everywhere there was sculpture. Around all four sides of the building, above the columns and easily seen by everybody approaching, was a series of 92 square relief carvings, known as metops. Like all the other sculpture in the building, these would originally have been brightly coloured in red, blue and gold. And it's one of these metops, now without its colour, that I want to take as our object to think about Athens around 440 BC. The metops are all about battles. Battles between the Olympian gods and the giants, between Athenians and Amazons, and, in the ones I want to focus on, between Lapiths and Centaurs. The figures are almost freestanding, and the human ones are about 4 feet tall. Centaurs, half horse, half human, are attacking the Lapiths, who are a legendary Greek people. According to the story, the Lapiths made the mistake of giving the Centaurs wine at the marriage feast of their king. The Centaurs got horribly drunk and attempted to rape the women, while their leader tried to carry off the bride. A general bitter battle ensued, and the Lapiths, the Greeks, were ultimately victorious over their half-animal centaur enemies. The one I'm looking at now is particularly moving. There are only 2 figures, a centaur rearing triumphantly over a fallen Lapith who lies dying on the ground. As with so many of the Parthenon sculptures, this one is damaged, and we can no longer see the expression in the dying Lapith's face or the aggression in the eyes of the centaur. Nonetheless, it remains a wonderful and moving piece of sculpture. But what does it mean, and how can it sum up in itself a view of the Athenian state? I'm fairly certain that these sculptures are using myths to present a heroic version of recent events. A generation before these sculptures were made, Athens was one of a number of fiercely competitive city-states who were suddenly forced into a coalition with each other by the Persian invasion of the Greek mainland. So in the metops, when we see Greeks fighting centaurs, these mythical battles stand proxy for the real-life struggle between Greeks and Persians. Mary Beard, Cambridge classicist, on what the sculptures would have meant to the people who first saw them.
Ancient Greece is a world which sees issues in terms of conflict, of winning and losing. It's a conflictual society. I mean, one of the ways that Athenians thought about their position in the world and their relationship to those they conquered or abominated was they saw the enemy or the other in terms that were not, in a sense, human. So what you have on the Parthenon is different ways of understanding the otherness of your enemy. And the best interpretation of the metopes is that you see the heroic conflicts that are necessary in order to ensure order. And part of that is a feeling that we can very easily empathise. I mean, we don't want to live in a culture that the centaurs, the half men, half horse, runs. We don't want to live in Centaur world, nor do we want to live in Amazon world. We want to live in Greek world, an Athenian world.
Centaur world for the Athenians would have meant not just the Persian Empire, but other competing Greek city-states, and above all, Sparta, with whom Athens was frequently at war. The struggle against the centaurs that we see in the metops becomes an emblem of the perpetual battle that for the Athenians every civilized state has to fight. Rational man has to keep struggling against brute irrationality. Dehumanizing your enemy like this takes you down a dangerous path, but it's a magnificent rallying call if you're waging war. If chaos is to be kept at bay, so the message goes, reason will have to fight unreason again and again. But I chose this particular sculpture because it gives us the bitter insight that in the short term, reason does not always prevail. The defence of the rationally ordered state will cost some of its citizens their lives. And yet, and this is why this sculpture is such a supreme achievement, the dying human body is shown with such pathos, the fierce struggle depicted with such balance, that the victory goes not to the strutting half-beast, but to the Athenian artist, who can turn conflict into beauty. In the long run of things, this sculpture seems to say, Intellect and reason alone can create things that endure. The victory is not just political, it's artistic and intellectual.